Good afternoon and welcome to today's Havn Life Sciences webcast as a part of the Planet MicroCap Showcase. It is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your host, Tim Moore of Havn Life Sciences. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Matthew. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate your interest in Havn Life, and I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I'm going to take you through about a 20-minute presentation and then do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to just type them in, and I'll keep an eye on that. Let me start by just giving you a little bit of background on myself and how I ended up in the psychedelics industry. My background, I have 35 years experience in the consumer packaged goods industry. I spent 18 years at Clorox. I spent 7 years running the North America Brita business. I've worked in consumer electronics and then food as well. I came into the cannabis industry about 4 years ago as a result of a personal experience. I've raised 5 sons. My oldest is 35, my youngest is 24. I've dealt with mental health issues with them over the decades. They're all fine today, but over the years I've dealt with 2 kids with anxiety disorder, one with Asperger's. I had a suicidal 14-year-old. My middle son got hit by a drunk driver 6 years ago and was disabled and became an opioid addict. And frankly, it was cannabis that saved his life, and that became my motivation to get in the cannabis space several years ago. And now when I take a look at the promise that psychedelics and psychoactives offer for a host of things, anxiety, depression, PTSD, anger management, substance abuse, I come into this industry very excited, very motivated to help people. I believe we're in the industry of hope. Hope to have a better life, to have a normal life, and not just plod through a day in a numbed state, which is what most people can hope for from pharmaceuticals today. With that, let me just get into the presentation. First of all, we have a dual-pronged approach. We have both a pharmaceutical business as well as a natural health products business. The pharmaceutical we operate under Havn Labs, the Nutraceuticals under Havn Retail. And that dual-prong approach, we believe, provides us with an opportunity to leverage our science team on both pharmaceutical APIs as well as that same expertise on natural health products. We're very much evidence-based and focused on human performance and particularly on cognitive health as an underpinning for a successful life. And as I said, we approach that through these 2 strategies. Havn Labs, which is building a supply chain of naturally derived compounds to support researchers and formulators, both isolate as well as broad spectrum, across a range of genetics that we've curated. And we are building out a facility in Vancouver, which will be a GMP compliant facility where we'll grow, extract, refine, and compound doses. Currently, we have our team on the ground in Jamaica where the rules allow us to accelerate that plan and to validate some of our protocols and processes, which will allow us to actually ship some compounds in the second half of this year. Havn Retail is very much a traditional packaged goods industry using a variety of plants and mushrooms that are not restricted but are still psychoactive or otherwise serotonin active. So this is using a well-worn path of rules that are frankly the same as they are for melatonin, chondroitin, glucosamine, or even ginger as a nutritional supplement. I'll talk more about that business in the next few pages. Given this diverse strategy, we've put together a diverse and complementary team to support that. Mentioned my background in packaged goods industry. My Chief Science Officer, Gary Leung, has a background. He spent a couple of decades at Jameson Labs, as well as some time in the cannabis industry at Afria. Dr. Ivan Castleman is our Chief Psychedelics Officer. He is a 3rd-generation cannabis person who's been working in the psychedelic space for a number of years. He's a PhD in plant-based compounds. Alexander Samuelson is Alex the chemist. He does all of our bench chemistry work and has been a tremendous help in the developing of the SOPs and the protocols. Supporting our executive team, our board includes Vic Neufeld, who also spent a couple of decades at Jameson Labs, as well as time at Afria. Dr. David Moakler, who is an expert in the psychedelic space and has been working in that space for several decades. He's on faculty at the University of New England and has done a tremendous amount of work in the space. Alan Oberman, who has a pharmaceutical background, he ran the Teva business in Asia, Middle East, and then Teva Americas. Dennis, who's our head of our audit committee, has a tremendous background in finance. Rick Brar, who spent time in Nutraceuticals as well as in the cannabis space. Tim Laidler, who is a veteran. He served in Afghanistan. He's currently the executive director for a transition facility for veterans that's based at UBC. Sheila Copps, who's former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and worked to support Indigenous people to gain legal access to plant-based and other alternative therapies, and David King, who is based in the UK and is a thought leader on psychedelics and has been a tremendous resource for us. What we're seeing is a huge opportunity in the space and the convergence of several mega trends that are setting up the opportunity for psychedelics today. The first mega trend is the mental health, which is a widespread problem where 11% of the population has some sort of mental health issue, and I believe that number is going to increase, particularly as a consequence of the pandemic, which has affected so many people on a global basis, whether people have lost their job or lost a business or lost a loved one or couldn't visit people in the hospital, couldn't have a funeral, had their life interrupted, whatever. There's not been anything on this scale since, in my opinion, since World War II. Then layer on that the responders, the healthcare workers that have been working in battlefield conditions. I mean, just think about it. When was the last time we built temporary morgues? I don't think it's been in my lifetime. So we're seeing, a huge global opportunity in mental health that continues to grow, and a number of people that have rejected pharmaceuticals for a variety of reasons, whether it's been weight gain or sexual dysfunction or dependency or whatever, who are seeking out an alternative and a plant-based solution. The total available market is large, and I'm sure over the course of today's presentations you'll see a number of different numbers being quoted, but the reality is it's a huge business both on the pharmaceutical side as well as on the natural health product side. As we look at our path to market, I talked about this before, Havn Labs, we're building the supply chain. The opportunity that we saw as we created the company is that there's a good deal of legitimate science that's been taking place in the psychedelics, whether it's Johns Hopkins or NYU or the University of Toronto in Canada or Imperial College or King's College in the UK have centers for psychedelics. And there's a number of studies that are in the field right now, many of which are using synthetic psilocybin. What we saw was an opportunity to provide naturally derived psilocybin APIs, isolate as well as broad spectrum, which aren't currently readily available because although mushrooms are very easy to grow, all you have to do is turn off your fridge and wait a few days and you'll grow mushrooms. The ability to grow mushrooms in a GMP compliant facility so that you can supply FDA regulated trials is very difficult. So Havn Life was the first company in Canada to be given a Section 56 exemption license to work with psilocybin in the lab to begin developing protocols around quality and consistency to support our GMP SOPs for our facility that we're building. So we will be supplying APIs initially to researchers and then to formulators as the business matures. On the retail side, our focus is on our range of natural health products that offer a variety of benefits, whether it's clarity or calmness or aid with sleeping, a number of different benefits. Those products will be launching next month. I'll have another slide on this in a few minutes. And that business is starting initially in Canada with a retail launch in May of this year and building out that footprint in the kinds of retailers where you expect to find these products, food, drug, mass, as well as specialty nutrition stores and health food stores. And we will be expanding that footprint to the United States and abroad as cash flow permits in future years. Our focus, as I said, is in Canada. It's very much a global opportunity, and with our team, we've got a global footprint. Tim Laidler's reach with veterans is international. We've got arrangements with the veterans associations in the UK, the US, as well as in Canada. Dr. Castleman's relationships with science and David Moakler's relationship with scientists gives us access to compounds and genetics around the world, and we will continue to build out those relationships. So we, our next steps on our business will be to secure our dealer's license as our facility is completed, and then to be a supplier of psychedelics to the global industry. We have forged supply agreements with entities in Europe, the US, and Canada at this point. To support that, our facility that we're building in Vancouver is a GMP-compliant facility with ISO 8 certification and security level to allow us to handle the appropriate volume of psilocybin, frankly, more than I think we'll need in the next few years. We very much see the facility as a 5-year facility, and then we'll grow into an additional facility down the road. We have as I mentioned before, we have a specific focus on veterans as an underserved group. It's a sad statistic that more veterans have committed suicide than died in Afghanistan, simply because there are so many of them that can't find a solution that works for them, and they have a variety of issues. So what we have in veterans is a group that's eager to seek alternative treatment. And we're already working with some groups on some retreats for veterans where we're able to execute that. Our focus is on microdosing. We're hopeful for the ability to deliver therapeutic benefit without the consequence of a hero dose. Frankly, because a hero dose can be very disruptive to one's life. You can lose a day or a weekend with that, as well as microdosing is a much better business model. On the nutraceutical side, we're leveraging an existing consumer behavior in that 74% of consumers are already taking nutritional supplements on a daily basis. Personally, I take chondroitin and glucosamine for my joints. I take tart cherry for my gout. So, you're leveraging that. People can easily add another one or two products, whether it's reishi or lion's mane or turkey tail, to improve their quality of life. So the focus of our retail products are on mindfulness, stress and anxiety, as well as immunity products. And put up a slide here of our first range of 7 products that are being launched next month. These are currently in production. It was an interesting challenge going through the setup of a completely new range of products during a pandemic, but we've been able to navigate that space, and I'm proud of the work that our team has done to bring these things to reality. So these products will be on the shelf next month in the Vancouver area, and we'll be expanding that footprint as soon as possible. To support our NHP products, we recently announced closing on a transaction to acquire a manufacturing facility. Just waiting for the slide to come up here, which is based in the Vancouver area. What this facility does is 3 things that are immediate benefits to us. 1, it has an existing revenue from the business that's in place. Number 2, it allows us to accelerate our expansion of our nutritional supplements into adjacent categories, specifically into functional foods. And 3rd, it will allow us to bring some of our manufacturing processes in-house, which will improve our gross margin and improve profitability. Waiting for this next slide here. what should be coming up here is a comp page just to take a look at other players in the space. What you'll see is that our market cap is currently well under $100 million. We are working to improve that and add value. We're looking not only at building capabilities, but also buying capabilities. We see a number of M&A opportunities coming at us that can be accretive. We do expect that there will be consolidation in the industry. On the pharmaceutical side, we're looking for capabilities and technology that will enhance our plan. On the retail side, we're looking for IP in the area of unique formulas or in brands that are going to bring us some revenue. Just quickly take a look at the cap table. You know, again, a lesson from the cannabis industry: have a responsible cap table, have a responsible balance sheet. We have enough cash in the bank right now to fund our roadmap for the next 12 months. That allows us to go back to the capital markets when it makes sense. We have approximately 114 million shares outstanding. We have no debt. We are going to remain mindful of our cash flow so that we don't get ourselves in a bad position. We continue to bring that discipline to managing our capital market structure. There's fine print here, which I won't make anybody try to read. I'm just going to go over and take a look at the Q&A now to see if we've got any questions. So, question on capital requirements. We aren't currently pursuing a raise, but that will come soon. The two opportunities that would present themselves, one would be an M&A opportunity that would require some cash. Our transaction with the manufacturing facility was an all-paper deal, so there wasn't any cash other than the transaction costs involved with that, but there are other opportunities that may require some cash. And then the second capital need will be our expansion into the U.S., which is an expensive proposition. If you're successful in getting distribution, the challenge is making sure you pull that inventory through. So you have to have a significant investment in advertising, promotion, and other activities to make sure that you get that velocity. So we see an opportunity for a raise sometime before the end of this year to support our launch into the U.S. Next year. Where are the risks in the industry? I think that one of the opportunities that psychedelics has that's different than cannabis is there isn't this tension between state legality and federally illegal. Everything that we at Havn Life do and everything the industry is doing is legal on a federal level and compliant with FDA and Health Canada, which allows investors, institutional investors as well, to participate in the space. And you know, the pharmaceutical path is very well worn, and if you think about it, when Pfizer creates a new heart medication, it's just as illegal as psilocybin until it's been approved by the FDA. So by working with the appropriate licensing and with the appropriate partners, we can provide that comfort to investors that the business is fully compliant and federally legal. Don't have any other questions up here right now. I don't know if anyone wants to. Where do we go next with natural health products? The next products that we'll be launching will be leveraging the manufacturing facility by going into functional teas. We are looking at a number of formulas there and hope to have those products available by the end of this year. I don't have any other questions here, so I think what we'll do is I will wrap up at this point and give everybody a chance to have a break before their next meeting. I appreciate your interest. Thanks very much for listening in, and look forward to any questions that you may have later on. You can reach out to us through havnlife.com. Thank you.
Thank you. This does conclude today's webcast. Thank you for your participation and have a wonderful day.